Welcome to the Enchanted Earth Podcast, where you will hear stories of nature with the power to transform our lives. These sacred stories are begging to be shared now. So listen in as my guest today shares one of their own. Welcome. Today we have Itzhak Beery with us, and let me tell you a little bit about Itzhak. He's an acclaimed author and internationally respected shamanic teacher, healer, speaker, and trip leader. Raised on an Israeli kibbutz, he had a fine art career and owned an advertising agency in New York City. A midlife crisis led him from a set skeptic into a dedicated spiritual seeker. Since 1995, he has integrated the teachings from his indigenous and Western teachers. He was initiated into the Circle of 24 Yachaks of Imbabura in Ecuador and with the Amazonian Calamia Page in Brazil. Beery founded shamanportal.org, the Andes Summit, and SPQR magazine. He co-founded the New York Shamanic Circle and Amaru Sanctuary in Mindo, Ecuador. He received the Ambassador for Peace Award from the Universal Peace Federation. So welcome, Itzhak. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, first, I just want to say that I just want to express my sadness for everything that's going on in Israel, and to your family and friends, strength for them to get through this really rough period in history. So I understand you were in Israel recently.
Yeah, I just came back. You know, reality is always a lot more complex than what you actually hear here in the media. I mean, in the United States, the emphasis is it's on the catastrophe, on the disaster or the war, and then immediately, of course, it's about selling airtime and commercials for media and newspapers and all that. But when you are in Israel, you continue to live your life. Of course, there are the areas that are affected by it, but then it's quite amazing how the country continued to live and function in a surprisingly well. I would hope that they would look at it as more of an opportunity to create understanding between the two people, not to eliminate one or the other, but to create peace. So I do hope that out of that disaster there will be more of peaceful negotiation or acceptance of each other. And it was just really interesting because I was flying from Israel back here to New York, and I met on the stop in Bucharest. I was meeting two Arab Israelis there, and we had such an amazing, heartwarming conversation and relationship. I mean, there was if you don't think that there is anything around the world, it was just an amazing, beautiful relationship. And I think that it's so possible. We're humans. We like we like each other.
We're all human. We want the same things for our families. We want love. We want security. We want to prosper. And well, I think I have a way out of this. If we just took the world's leaders and put them up in a rocket ship and just did a little circle around the earth, just give them an idea of looking down on our planet.
Or you may want to give them ayahuasca for 1 or 2 nights.
Just slip it to them in their tea or their coffee. Oh, wow. Yes. Well,
but I think that what we are really talking about here in the bigger picture is the geopolitical struggle between the powers. It's a whole play that we are all victims of it. And unfortunately, many people lose their life.
I'm so grateful that you were able to come on today, because I know we spoke a couple of years ago for my book, and You so graciously shared some beautiful stories of connecting to nature. And before we kind of go into it, I thought you do have a very different childhood growing up on a kibbutz. Could you share a little bit about that experience and your, I guess, connection to nature in that environment?
So our kibbutz were established in 1922, 101 or 2 years ago. People came from Europe or Russian and Poland, and they chose the most unlivable place. There was swamp in the valley. There were wild pigs and snakes and coyotes and every kind of animals that you were just thinking. And of course, Scorpios. It was and it was incredibly hot. If you're talking about 120 Fahrenheit or something like that in the summer. It was the idea of re-establish the Jewish presence in Israel and in places where nobody else will go to. And of course, the our kibbutz is on the slope of a mountain. It's called Mount Gilboa, which was mentioned in the Bible, as you may remember, with David and King Saul. But the whole area was a very populated Jewish settlement. And in our kibbutz, it's called Beit Alpha, which is the house of alphabet or school. They found a synagogue and school from beginning of the fourth, fifth, sixth century after Christ. So it was we grew up on the mountain. Every time that the rain came, we discovered Roman coins and shreds of arrows. And I mean, it was part of our life. It's just to live with the past, to live with our ancestors who kind of discovered that we went to the mountains, we went to the caves that they were sitting there watching over the valley. So in many ways, for me, it was, although my parents came from Belarus and Poland, when I grew up over there, it's more like I kind of discovered our roots, our ancestors were there. So they saw the whole idea of the question that people are talking about. If you just came to a country, you chose. No, it was there. Actually, there was a kind of like a reverence to the people who were there before and kind of a sense of really returning. But the people who established the kibbutz, they were not really religious. They were actually communists. They were atheists. They came to this country to work the land. And all the activities in the kibbutz was about celebrating or living with the earth or celebrating the seasons. Uh,
Oh, wow.
oh, yeah.
Wow. Wow. So it was like really kind of like an earth-based spirituality
Oh, absolutely.
that you grew up in. Whoa. Well, just a quick question here. I know when we were talking, I mean, traditionally mountains are sacred, and Mount Gilboa, as you brought up, was in the Bible, but it was
Cursed.
cursed.
Yes.
So can you just share a little bit about that?
Well, one of the things that was so etched in our body or in our consciousness was that we are here to lift the curse.
Oh,
Yes. So the curse was that these mountains will always be dry, and there was no rain, no dew, nothing will grow on that mountain. That was the curse. And so for us, it was about reversing it. So from very early age, we went and planted trees on the mountain, pine trees and other trees, to make the mountain green, to reverse the curse that King Saul had on the mountain. And we needed that. We had, yes, we are, the kibbutz was an earth-based culture, which is very similar to what the shamanic work is. The Hebrew tradition, or the Nani, or the true Jewish tradition is earth-based culture. And I was just like, now I'm translating my first book to Hebrew. And so I was like asking, the question is how my early childhood influenced what I do now in the shamanic tradition. And I kind of like discovered that there were so many elements from my childhood that really dictated what I'm doing now. And actually, I don't think that it's just for me. I think a lot of us, if you grew up in nature, or and later on we go into life and we do have a career and we're making money and all of that Western nightmare. There was a moment there where, like, around our age of 40 or 45, that we're how to understand that this is not what we came here to this world for. And then there is a longing to go back to be part of nature. And I could see it with many people that are doing shamanic work, that actually they're returning to their roots. They are accepting the connection that they had with nature. It's just really beautiful to see. And you can see that it's kind of like almost necessary evolution of people, and they're like really trying to open their wings and fly the highest that they can, and then realize, oh, what is it for?
Right.
Maybe we need to go down and eat from the ground and walk on the ground and listen more to nature. So I think that in the kibbutz we were a commune. We learned how to live in a community, and the responsibility of one person in a community and the life of a community. We shared almost everything, and we sang song for nature. We danced. We we were part of a youth movement, so we did a lot of camping and fires, and so we were very much involved in nature. And actually, all of those experiences, so I think that they are definitely contributed to what I do now. I feel very comfortable with that. It wasn't, it's not like something I'm making up. But when I first came to the Andes, actually, it was 1995. I went to John Perkins. I felt I came home. I really
Oh,
felt the mountains spoke to me. That nature spoke to me. I didn't feel like I'm coming to a strange place I never knew. Actually, I thought I felt so at home. It was a very strange feeling, but now that I look back at it, I see that it was, my childhood prepared me for that. The another thing that we grew up was, we didn't grow up with our parents. We had a separate houses. Our parents had their own room or house, and all the children lived in separately, far away. And so you learn to deal with the fear, deal with a community, with people, play together, fight together. All of this is very similar to tribal community. We were free. We worked with, we had animals that we raised. We worked in the fields. We grew up vegetables. And so we were very much in tune to the season, to agriculture, to all of that. I mean, I wish more kids today would have that experience.
yeah, absolutely. So it sounded like your community lifted that curse for sure.
I think it's an ongoing process. Hundreds of years or thousands of years, there was no agriculture there to work with that. And so that is beautiful. But the mountain continued to be, so there's a part of the mountain is all green, beautiful forest, and some parts of the mountains are still yellow. So there's a lot of work to do to lift the curse. But that's it's not in one day. It's like a lifetime.
Really interesting that, you talk about the midlife crisis, but you were a skeptic. So was it that you got kind of caught up with the whole Western view of the world that made you skeptical of spirituality?
Well, you have to remember that my parents and many people who came from Europe at that time, it was a revolution. Re, they rebelled against their parents. They're the old tradition of religion. They wanted to be farmers. They wanted to go and work the land. They rebel against religion. And so that's how I grew up. I grew up with the idea that religion and spirituality is old fashioned. It is for
Mm.
it now is an old tradition. We are now starting a whole new world, a world that is connected to nature. Our so that was so I grew up with that idea. My grandfather was a Kabbalistic rabbi in Poland and a healer too. There's something that nobody ever told us about that. We found some letters and only a few years ago about that. It's not like we didn't have a spirituality in our family, but it was not celebrated. It was not, it was almost like, you know, trying to avoid even thinking about it. So I was a skeptic. Yes, I was skeptic. I wanted to create the new person that the society wanted to create a more universal person, more person that is connected to nature and cost instead of a religion. Really, uh, I
So- yeah. So, I mean, really spiritual, but in an earth based way.
Well, I think that when you are connected to nature, there's no way that you're not becoming spiritual, because that's what the whole essence of the work of shamanism is about. The deeper you are connected to the earth, the higher your spiritual experience. There are people who are religious, or they do all kind of practices that are they want to be spiritual, and so they are from the head up, but they don't have roots to the earth or Pachamama. So help to give them how. I mean, it was all about our connection or interaction between us and nature, which is what shamanism is. And for the question about midlife crisis, I think that it's really important for me to understand that, or for all of us to understand that there are different stages in life, and around the age of between the age of 28 to 38, it's about achievement. It's about creating career, building the family, building, like conquering something. But then there's a time that at 40 where people start asking, I say, for what? What is it for? And so the first few years is about contemplation, and I think that for me it was about depression. So I was very driven, but after getting almost all the awards in advertising, I says, where is it going to? I didn't feel like what doing another ad for Gucci or another ad for Revlon would do anything for the humanity. No. And so I started to think about who am I, what I'm doing, where I'm going, what is the legacy that I leave behind. And I think that a lot of us are going through it. It's like a time between 38 to 42, 43. It's like a fog, like going inward, looking at in the Kabbalah. It look like it sounds like going into the forest, into the unknown, the darkness place. And then you start to realize that, okay, I have not too many more years to live. Life is short. What do I want? We're not, nobody prepare us for that,
Yeah.
unfortunately. It might be a good idea to have a like workshop for people in the midlife crisis.
Oh,
It,
absolutely.
because I think it's, I mean, in one way, it's an individual process. But on the other hand, the shamanic work is about connecting with spirit, allowing spirit to teach you what you came here to do. What is your life purpose? What you came here to achieve? How can you be more useful for society? I think that is the a big part of the shamanic work is about that, is that finding up your purpose, finding up. But and then we go when we reach 50, it's about, all right, now we do that mentoring. So it is the time between 50 and 60 where we are starting to think about, okay, so now we understand that. How can we pass it on to another generation? And then mentoring, teaching, sharing information. And then at 60 is about more for wisdom. So from the 60 on is about accumulating, writing, sharing. And then, of course, after that, we have the eldership. And I think the eldership part is the one thing that is very important for all of us to, in our Western society, people who are over 70, they're in indigenous cultures, that those are the people who are called taita. They called elders or mamas. They are the people who carry the wisdom. They can see the world from a higher perspective. They can share it with the younger generation. They're not so hot-headed. The elders are very important, and in our society we don't really think about it that much. But I think it's
Yeah.
so important. And I think one of the secrets of beautiful thing about the shamanic work is to engage in watching, observing nature. For instance, one of my biggest teachers is a river. If you sit by the river, you don't just enjoy the air or the sounds of the birds, but also to watch the flow of water. And then you equate the river as life. So the river is the symbol of life for each person. But you can see how sometimes the river flows smoothly, and sometimes you have white water, sometimes you have problems and issues. Sometimes the rivers stop and you become, lazy,
Stagnant.
stagnant. Yes.
Yes.
So there's a lot of teaching in the shamanic tradition. Water is the feminine energy, or the element of emotions. And so it is also the teaching of emotion, how to look at our own emotions through the symbols or the metaphor of the river. So watching nature and taking that consciousness or understanding or the symbols as our own life, that's amazing. I don't know if I told you, but we on the mountains, Gilboa, uh, we had a Roman road.
Ah.
So the Romans, when they were occupying Israel, they dug a road from the valley all the way up to, to the top of the mountain. It was a way for them to get to from one place to the other and commercialize and all that. And I think that it probably was from the 6th century. It was still there, the same name. But they decided to take the bigger bulldozers and make it a bigger road.
Yeah.
So now people not just walk or go with horses, but people can drive through. And I remember as a child, I think I was 8 around that time, that I looked at that and I looked at the bulldozer, and I really felt that they are hurting my body. I felt that the mountain was me, and then the tractor was plowing through me and wounding my. I remember that feeling, how sometimes, all the time actually, our inner landscapes and our outer landscapes equate, and we don't sometimes pay attention to that, but it's true. The way we treat nature, nature treat us. So there's that correlation between nature and our own body, physical body, emotional body. It was always very early for me, very early. Uh,
I I think many of us maybe hadn't witnessed the destruction of part of a mountain, but I think we've all experienced the chainsaw. And I know that whenever I hear a chainsaw go on in my neighborhood, I feel like I hold my chest, I hold my stomach, like I feel like they're cutting me and I can just like feel it within my body. But it is so true. And when we're really empathetic and connected to nature, what's going on out there is what's going on in here. What's going on here is going on out there.
yeah, yeah, of course. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, I was reading an article about ritual, and there was, well, a lot of mining in West Virginia, and really just taking off the tops of mountains, completely decimating mountains to get to the coal. And I know that there's been some ritual and ceremony where people will have like an image of a mountain and they'll parade through the town, grieving the loss of their mountain.
yeah. I mean, in the shamanic tradition, mountain is a place of prayers. It's a place where you go up and you see life in higher perspective. It's a place where you go the highest to be close to God, whatever God you're referring to. But it's a place where you go and your soul is commune with the cosmos. And so when you are cutting off the mountains, you're cutting some part of yourself. There's no place to go. There's no place to contemplate or. And mountain is very interesting. I mean, I grew up with it. So I did a workshop once for the kibbutz member about the spirit of the mountain. And it was interesting because, everything in nature have spirit, have a consciousness, and have characters, and have a meaning. And so I asked them to journey with their newfound power animals to receive messages from the mountain. What is it that they mean to them? And for some people, it is about a barrier, about not to be able to go to whatever they want because it's a mountain, right? And for some people, it was about safety. It's about holding them space and safe. For some people, it was about the teacher or like a mama who was like holding them safety. For some people, it was about a wall that just blocked the sun to come. It was about the shadows that the mountain gave them. So there many different aspects of how we relate to nature, but our relation to nature really shape us strongly. There's that yearning to go back to the roots, to go back to what's real, to go back to what was familiar to you before you became westernized, and because it's our nature. We are nature. We're not something else. We're not politicians. We're not business people. We are, first of all, we are part of nature.
I just have to say something. You did this gesture, and then you said westernized and laugh because this means crazy. Yeah, right? And it's true. We live in a different reality when we're caught up in the physical. Of course, we need to do the physical and the mundane in order to survive, but when we're completely caught up in it, we're insane.
Yeah, I think that John Perkins said it is so wonderful that we live in a society of that the dream became a nightmare. That we started maybe okay, but it's definitely take us to a dead end road. You know?
Right. Right. Well, as we're heading to our close, I mean, you just shared some amazing wisdom with us, but do you have any other words you would like to share before we leave today?
My teacher, who was from the Uruguavu tribe in Brazil, the people of the stars, they believe that they came here to this earth from the Palladium to teach us how to preserve the earth, how to keep the earth in balance. That's their belief system, that they came here to the Amazon to teach the European people or the people on this earth. And we have to learn how to listen to that. They saw it from above how badly we treat Mother Earth. And I think that understanding that what we do to Mother Earth, we do to ourselves, there's no free lunch. That the way we respect the earth, the way we act in the earth, come to haunt us. And one of the other thing that he said was that we are all shamans. That every person that is born on this earth is born with a DNA that enables them to heal other people. We all dream. We all daydream. We all know how to sing. We all know how to dance. We all know how to give a glass of water to somebody who needs it. We know how to give a hug to someone. So healing or the idea of shaman is a gift that is ingrained in our DNA. And not it doesn't call for each person to be everyday shaman. There are some people who would do that job, and some people, but it's essential that people will remember that they came here to heal other people and to take responsibility for it. The more people will connect to their true nature, which is to be a shaman or a healer, the more responsibility they will take about the environment and other people around them, the better for our world. Absolutely. It is important to understand that we are all shamans. We can't just say that this person will do the healing and that person will do the healing, but and I can go and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
That we have to take personal responsibility. And I know that it's frightening a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to take responsibility. They want the government to do it. They want their medical establishment to do it, or they want the religious people to do it. But they don't want to take responsibility. And I think that what I think it's important is to understand that there's no way to avoid it. We have to do that if we want to have our kids grow up in a livable planet. We were gifted those DNAs for all of us for only one purpose, for survival and survival of the human race. Because let's face it, when you speak to people in the shamans in the Amazon or the Andes, they're not very concerned about all of that because they say that we are here as spirit, as soul, that are come here to experience this life. And if it's not going to be here on this planet, on this Mother Earth, it will be in another planet, or maybe it will be just spirit that flies in the sky. And they accept that also as a future. I'm not there yet. I still would like to have my kids, grandchildren, and all others enjoying the mountains, enjoying the trees, enjoying the water, the river, enjoying the nature here on this planet. And it's just really such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful planet we're giving to us. Maybe they are right. Maybe they are right that maybe our time to leave would be soon. I hope. Do you think that is my attachment
Right.
to leave this on this earth?
I just wonder, there are so many people that I encounter that are so not just disconnected from nature, but biophobic. And, they sit in their manicured yards that have, fake green grass, no trees, concrete, and that's their idea of an outdoor experience. And I just go, how did we get like this? How do we reverse this trend?
Well, first of all, I don't think that it's their fault. I don't think that they are bad people. I think it's the way. I mean, if I look at it as a whole, our society is raising slaves, raising people to serve the, the economic complex that we are here, the big corporations. And so the education, the movies, the communication, it's all geared to numb them. And I think all people are connected to nature. I mean, I don't think that anybody is not. But I think that when you raise children that are always protected like that and always geared to be successful and to avoid nature, you raise people that live with fear of thunders, fear of lightning, fear of the rain, fear of earthquake, fear of everything all around them. You see, in general, all our society is geared to protect us from nature. How many people are just like you see just walking in the rain and just enjoying it? You see here, it's all about protection. You wear shoes, you wear clothes, so you always protect your physical body and your physical. And so in many ways, all this protection is disconnect us from nature.
Well, I am so grateful to you, Itzhak, and to hear your wisdom. And I would love to hear anybody who was touched by this. Please share your thoughts, comment, and subscribe to this podcast if you would like to see future episodes. So thank you, Itzhak. I'm going to have your bio below. Everybody can contact you, but your website is
myname.com. Itzhakbeery.com.
itzhakbeery.com. Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So many blessings to you and your teachings and all of your students that you reach through your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of the Enchanted Earth podcast. Comment below, share, and most of all, please hit the subscribe button so that you'll hear when we publish another inspiring episode. You can visit us at luminous-spaces.com for more information on our online courses, retreats, and offerings. Thank you and have a magical day.